To think of the trending hashtag right now, leaving MAGA.
Leaving MAGA. First of all, you shouldn't have been in it in the first place. All right, it shouldn't even have been a thing. It's the stupidest thing ever. Second, hashtag leaving MAGA. No. You don't get to fuck this up and just walk away. No, get back in there, make this shit right. Unfuck what you fucked. All right? You fucked this all the way. Now unfuck it. That's your job now. Leaving MAGA. No, you wanted to be in it? Stay in it. Enjoy it. It's your fault. We're here now. Unfuck it. You fucked it up. Unfuck it. Make it right. Or you can't? Then you should have left it to the fucking people who really knew what they were doing in the first place. Dumbasses.
Much as I am loving my time being a part of the MAGA crowd, I feel like there is just like one little thing that maybe we need to address before it gets out of control. There seems to have been like a resurgence of this word, especially on X, from the MAGA community. A lot of us are autism parents like me, and we don't appreciate the use of that word because it has been used to demean and embarrass our kids.
Hi Lilo, you sound a lot like me before I left the MAGA party. When I was over there, I got made fun of for feeding the homeless people. They made fun of me because I told conservative influencers not to stitch autistic children and send their hundreds of thousands of followers to go make fun of them. You are not going to instill empathy, and you're not going to instill morals into these people. They are devoid of such. I mean, really, like, go over to X. All of your favorite creators are dropping the N-bombs constantly. They're praising the likes of 1940s Germany, if you will. You voted for a side that actively made fun of Tim Walz's autistic son during the election cycle. You voted for a man who openly mocked a disabled reporter. And you really think you're gonna instill morals. You're not. I tried it, failed it after 6 months, said hasta la vista, I could never. You're not gonna be able to either, honey. My name is Mercedes Chandler. Give me a follow or you won't see my face again. Thank you.
Recently, the hashtag Leaving MAGA has been trending on multiple platforms with people who previously supported Donald Trump starting to question that support based on the things they see happening in the government that they don't think are great, and I have thoughts. You see, every once in a while when I make those videos that are like finding people who did bad things, it will lead to MAGA people starting to follow me. Like the one recently where the guy attacked the kid on the dirt bike. Yeah, on Twitter, I got a huge influx of MAGA supporters that started following me because they didn't like that, even though people who know that guy told me that he's like a huge Trump supporter. So in the days that have followed, I've started to see a drop-off because the rest of my content, they don't love. And there are those who say, maybe you shouldn't be so aggressive with your words. Now's the time to extend a little kindness. You're never going to win them over if you're telling them how horrible they are. I don't want to win them over. I don't want to convince them of shit. It's 2025. If you're still supporting Donald Trump today, you're a bad person. That being said, that does not mean that I think you're irredeemable and you can't wake the fuck up. And in that case, I'm happy to have you start figuring your shit out. I'll give you an example. Back when Donald Trump posted about how he hated Taylor Swift, there was a woman who was a huge Trump supporter on TikTok. And she made a video where she said, I deleted all my videos supporting Donald Trump. I can't believe he said that about Taylor Swift. I love Taylor Swift. That's too far for me. I don't support Donald Trump anymore. And her comment section was lit up with people being like, this is what did it? This, not all the crimes against humanity and the sexual assaults and everything else. Him just being mean to Taylor did it. We don't want you. Fuck off. And I left a comment there that said, you don't get to choose what the straw looks like. And by that, I mean the straw that breaks the camel's back. See, I think some people don't understand what that expression means. It's not that a single straw broke a camel's back. It's that there was a pile of millions of straws, and then one last straw was the one that pushed it over. We don't get to pick what the event or the thing is that makes the scales fall from someone's eyes. But usually after that happens, they start seeing all the other stuff and being like, oh shit, oh, and this, and then he did this, oh, that's really awful. Reality is all I'm doing is trying to wake up each day and be slightly less shitty than I was the day before. I post videos in the hopes that I inspire others to do the same, and maybe when we find things that we can all do something about, we collectively do that. But I'm not going to hold your hand. I'm not going to use sweet words and tell you it's okay while you support people who are actively doing harm. That part you have to figure out on your own.
Join me as I dive into the minds of MAGA supporters and see if I can uncover their second thoughts. This topic is significant because it shows a potential shift in the political landscape, with some supporters beginning to question their allegiance. There are several challenges that MAGA supporters are facing, including economic concerns and social issues. Some are worried about the impact of certain policies on their livelihoods, while others are frustrated with the lack of progress on key campaign promises. These issues are prompting some supporters to rethink their loyalty. The discontent among some MAGA supporters is also fueled by the perceived disconnect between the movement's leadership and its base. Many feel that their voices are not being heard, leading to a sense of disillusionment. Furthermore, the constant controversy surrounding the movement has taken a toll on some supporters, making them question whether their allegiance is still justified. But first, let's hear from Representative Bernie Sanders giving MAGA some words of wisdom.
I would say to Trump supporters are two things. Focus not on what Trump says, but what he does. And what he's going to do is cut programs that you and your families need. Do you really think it's appropriate to cut Medicaid substantially? Those are families, your families, may not be able to get the health care that they need. Your mother may not be able to get into the nursing home that she has to get into because Medicaid pays a substantial part of that. We're going to do away with aid to students who want to go to college. Your kids are going to have to go more deeply into debt when we cut back on higher educational programs. So the other thing that I would say is that if you are an honest conservative, you believe in the Constitution of the United States. You do not believe that the richest guy in the history, in modern history, can go around unilaterally cutting programs that were authorized by Congress. So if you're a Trump supporter and you're a working class person, understand that they're going after you. And if you believe in the Constitution and democracy, they're also trying to undermine that.
My name's Justin Yu, and I left MAGA. When Donald Trump ran the first time, I liked the idea of having a president that was not a career politician. I dove headfirst into the Trump media bubble. Fox News and others had led me to believe that the Democrats were about to start doing Gestapo-style roundups. And then he got impeached for trying to extort political favors from Ukraine by withholding military aid. And then when he refused to concede his loss in 2020 and sent a violent mob to attack our Capitol on January 6th, that was the final straw for me. I widened my sources of information, and now I see him for what he is. Somebody who despises anybody who is an other, whether it's a different race, different religion, or a different political party. And so, I left MAGA for good.
I'm Steve Vilches, and I left MAGA. I was only 13 when I joined. Donald Trump had just won the 2016 election. I told myself to keep an open mind, but to me, a 13-year-old interpreted this as completely changing my center and center-left sources of info to becoming a member of a pure Trump echo chamber. Very quickly, I was all in for MAGA. I lost my moral compass, and I started to believe in things that I knew deep down were wrong. I thought that we should be sending our troops to the border and shoot all people on sight for trying to get in, even though both of my parents were Mexican immigrants. Following the 2020 elections, I was a very strong election denier. I lost a lot of friends, and I wasn't able to talk about what was going on in the world with my parents anymore. I opened my eyes after the January 6th insurrection at the Capitol. I began to widen my sources of info, but I was still firm with MAGA, all the way until the 2022 midterms. When many of the Trump-endorsed candidates lost and were claiming fraud, that was the last straw for me.
The Leaving MAGA movement is taking hold for some people, and these are their voices. Stephanie Messina became a Christian nationalist in 2014, only a few years after she began her career as a pediatric respiratory therapist.
We were watching his addresses, and contrary to everything that I had been taught, being a trained respiratory therapist and working in one of the finest institutions in the country, I wasn't masking, and I was falling in line with all of these anti-science ideas.
Now, as a mom to 5 boys, Messina sees that a slippery slope led her into the Make America Great Again movement.
It isn't about Christianity, it's about control. MAGA is not about Jesus. I did 3 years of really hard work because I knew I needed to change. I knew that my wounds from my childhood, the Christian rights, Christian by name only, by the way, Christian nationalism, I will say it all day long, is Christian in name only, in name only.
Rich Logis considered himself a true MAGA supporter, but after the Republican response to the mass shooting at an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas, he decided enough was enough.
When I was in the MAGA community myself, we had a fantasy of killing the Republican Party and making it a MAGA party. And I think it is safe to say that that fantasy is now a reality and that the GOP, whatever it was before 2015, no longer exists.
Since then, Logis set up a community for those who have left MAGA or those afraid to leave. He connected with Stephanie Messina after she posted about her departure on social media. They've been working together since.
MAGA is as addictive as nicotine. A lot of, well-meaning people on the left will say it's so pathetic that MAGA people don't wake up until something terrible happens to them. And I'm like, but it's so very human. It's so very human to need a wake-up call.
I've learned a lot about how much bravery it takes for someone to acknowledge publicly that they made a mistake, that they were wrong, that they acknowledge those errors, and that they want to make amends for any statements, actions, or rhetoric that may have harmed others.
A CNN analysis found the 15 states that most rely on federal funding for its public schools in 2022 all voted for Trump.
And I voted for President Trump.
I mean, you're an educator. You didn't vote for Trump eliminating federal funds.
No, I did not vote for that. I voted for President Trump to make America first again and to improve our lives.
Please explain to me, who raised these people? What the fuck is wrong with them?
We are huge Trump supporters. If you didn't get the email on Monday, you're safe. And I'm like skipping down the halls, right? I get to stay. Wednesday, late afternoon, I received a notice that I have an appointment, a Teams appointment with my supervisor on Friday at 9 o'clock. So I knew that I wasn't safe anymore.
You were skipping down the hall. You were so excited when you thought you were safe. You knew others were suffering and gonna suffer, but you knew you were safe. You were cool with it.
Cutting costs and waste and fraud and. We love that big picture. I love that big picture. My friends, we were excited about that because it is true.
I could just picture you and your friends, glasses of cheap fucking wine, just laughing over others and how others are gonna get affected.
The common theme is, we voted for this. You knew this was coming, but we didn't. Nobody that I've talked to understood the devastation that having this administration in office would do to our lives, but other people that we love and care about too within the Mid-Ohio Valley.
There it is. It's only when you're affected that you actually feel bad about something. You don't have any regrets for everyone else. It's that you got affected. You're despicable. You're disgusting. How does it feel?
It's hard. It's wrecking.
Good.
So it appears as though the regret is already starting for the Trump supporters, because tell me why. Back in 2016, I had a friend that I am clearly no longer friends with, and her mom started an argument with me in my Facebook comment section the day after Trump got elected back then, telling me, imagine how they felt when Obama was elected. And I said, oh, no, baby. And then I clocked her teeth. And let me just tell you guys, young Phoebe didn't play, because why was my first sentence, first of all, why are you 40 arguing with a 16-year-old? And second of all, while we're here, let me present to you all of the ways in which I know more than you. I say this all to say I opened my phone today and she has sent me an apology 10 years later. And it wasn't quite clear if she was apologizing for the lack of morality or for the fact that she was 40 arguing with a 16-year-old back then. But I politely let her know that maybe reconciliation isn't the best idea right now, because if she thought I was nasty back then, she really shouldn't try talking to me about politics in 2025. Is it happening? Are they seeing the consequences of their actions?
Yeah, I think her friend's mom should leave her alone. A key moment that encapsulates the feelings of doubt among MAGA supporters is the response to recent policy announcements, which has been overwhelmingly negative. This reaction suggests that many supporters are no longer willing to blindly follow the movement's leadership, instead choosing to speak out against decisions they disagree with. The backlash against these announcements has been fierce, with many supporters taking to social media to express their outrage and disappointment. This shift in sentiment has significant implications for the movement's future, as it suggests that supporters are no longer afraid to challenge the leadership. The movement's leadership has also faced criticism from former supporters, who have spoken out about the need for change and reform. This criticism has been particularly damaging, as it comes from individuals who were once deeply invested in the movement. The main points discussed highlight a significant shift in sentiment among MAGA supporters, with many beginning to question their allegiance due to various challenges and discontent. This shift has significant implications for future elections, as it could lead to a decline in support for the movement. Let's hear your thoughts on this topic. Do you think MAGA supporters are truly having a change of heart? And what do you think this means for the future of politics? Are you even willing to now have them on your team? Check out our next video for a deeper dive into current political trends and their potential impact on upcoming elections.